My name is Mats Olofsson. I am, you can say, a main organizer of this workshop today. I have been the coordinator for the Brazilian-Swedish cooperation in aeronautics since more or less we started the structured cooperation in 2014. And I'm very happy to see all of you here today. This is actually the 12th instance of the aeronautics workshop that started 2014 at ITA in San Jose's campus. My background is otherwise as the chief scientist of the Armed Forces before I joined as a consultant to help out with Innovair, the strategic innovation program in aeronautics. And Innovair, together with Linköping University, provided you with the lunch that I hope you have enjoyed before this meeting today. The theme of our meeting today, and I want to say that the new invention this year is that we are making a joint workshop together with a newly established, actually it will be formally established tomorrow, working group on AI and autonomy. And next to me, I have...
Good afternoon. So my name is Fredrik Heinz. I'm a professor of computer science at Linköping University, where I do research on AI and autonomous systems. And I'm also the Swedish chair of this the working group on AI and autonomy that will be formed tomorrow. I'm also the Sweden-Brazil chair of AI and autonomy. So I take this very important opportunity to collaborate between Sweden and Brazil, and I think there is a lot of very interesting and valuable connections here. And of course, we will go into more the details on this in our session this afternoon.
And I also want to greet all the people that have not been able to come to Stockholm today. To support them, we have arranged that we are sending this, streaming it on a YouTube channel. That's why we have a special situation where we have put all the presentations in a long row so we can broadcast it to Brazil or other places in Sweden where people are sitting now, hopefully eager to see what you and we will produce. But this situation also makes it a bit more difficult to interact with the audience. So we have not been able for this workshop here in the auditorium to allow interaction from the online participants. But if anyone in this room has a specific question and there is time after the presentations, we have a possibility to take those questions in the room. So we will just show you now the program for today. The joint part of this of this workshop is what we have up till the coffee break at 2:30, or maybe slightly later because we started a bit late. So first we will have opening addresses from the two gentlemen sitting here. I will soon introduce them. And then we will have keynote presentations, and they will also be introduced when we are there. Then we'll take a coffee break and split into two rooms. So the AI and autonomy workshop will move to another room where there is a number restriction, which means that if you have registered to sit there, you can go in. Otherwise, there will be no chair for you. Sorry. And this is the joint part. After the coffee break, we will continue in this room with the aeronautics workshop. And you've all seen, hopefully, the program. There's no changes to it, and it will be very interesting for us to follow the presentations that you can see here on the screen. And then there's an important message to all of you that thought you were going out to have dinner afterwards hungry, because the reception and the after work will include both wine and beer, but also something to eat. So I hope you are staying here if you have registered for the after work that will start 5:30 out in the same place where you had lunch. So you're very welcome, because one essential part of a cooperation like this is the interaction between people. And that's why we are here, to interact. And we have representatives from both actually all parts of the triple helix: government, academia, and industries. And from government, I count then the numerous people from the Brazilian Air Force, and we have some people from the Swedish Air Force here as well, which I appreciate a lot, since the Gripen was the start, in a way, of this cooperation. So I hand over to you to comment on the next part here.
Yes, so in parallel, we will have this fifth workshop on AI and autonomy. So we will be in a different room, and we will basically go with both going through the Sweden-Brazil community. We also have a number of Brazilian guest researchers that are going to present what they have been doing while they're here in Sweden. We also have industry presentations, and then we will end with a panel where we will be discussing the opportunities and challenges of collaborations between Sweden and Brazil. And of course, we will join the afterwork together with the rest of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. So then for the opening address here, I first ask Mr. Carl Rosén, who is director at our Ministry of Climate and Enterprise. He is coordinator of international relations, to say a few words, please.
Thank you very much. It can be interesting to know that I used to be Director General for all state-owned companies in Sweden. And I've also been Director General for all other business-related issues or enterprise-related issues. I work for the Ministry of Climate and Enterprise, and we are formally leading the Swedish part of the Aeronautics cooperation between Brazil and Sweden. And it is with great joy I stand here in front of you to open the 12th Aeronautics workshop, including the 5th AI and autonomy workshop. And I can say on a personal note that I think it is a privilege to be here, to listen to people from two leading aeronautical countries, to speak about what's happening in the forefront of technology. We have 3 busy days ahead of us with different meetings and events in a variety of different constellations and on different aspects of our cooperations on aeronautics. This workshop is traditionally held in connection to high-level group meetings, and tomorrow the HLG meeting is. And of course, this is a tremendous opportunity for all of us to meet colleagues and the people we don't know, and to learn and improve and develop the cooperation between our two countries. It is also a manifestation of the successful aeronautical triple helix concept in both our countries, bringing the industry, academia, and government together to promote research, innovation, and development. And since I coordinate all Swedish innovation partnerships, there are 5 of them, with India, with UK, with Germany and France, I can say that this is a role model for innovation partnership. This afternoon, we can look forward to a joint workshop focusing on both aeronautics and AI and autonomy. And this joint workshop is a great example of how the work in the aeronautical cooperation can grow and spill over in other areas such as AI and autonomy. And I'm sure this workshop will be an important step in laying a further foundation of this new working group. Lastly, I would like to express the Ministry's great appreciation of Innovair, and especially Mats Olofsson, and his Brazilian counterpart, Emilia Villani. So maybe we can... So... at ITA for arranging this event today, and to all others contributing to this workshop. Obrigado. So. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And then I would ask Osorio Coelho, who comes from the Ministry of MCTI, Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation in Brazil. and he's also the chairman of our executive committee. He is the Deputy Secretary of Development and Innovation. So please.
Thank you, everyone. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Osório Coelho. For those that not speak Portuguese, Coelho is rabbit in Portuguese, so it's a very strange name. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Mats, for this event. I have to thank the Brazilian embassy also to doing this such an important and fundamental event here of the ecosystem, of the aeronautical system. Minister of Defense, the Brazilian Air Force, and everyone who is somehow who participates in this ecosystem. I'd just like to say a few words because I think Brazil and Sweden, we were just talking. Brazil and Sweden has a very long history in terms of collaboration. And I think this today we are not only discussing and sharing the results of this collaboration, but also we are building the future of this collaboration. I think we need to be inspired by this so fruitful, for this valuable collaboration to address many issues and many barriers that, along the way emerge in order to build a more effective collaboration. So when it comes to such an important ecosystem like aeronautics, I always think that we are not just supporting and fostering technology for aeronautics. We are fostering technology for the society, because all the technology that we are building, technology that we are developing, has some reflex on society. So that's why it's so important to have these discussions, to see the results, and to be inspired by these results in order to reflect on the next years. I think the next meeting we will welcome you in Brazil. I'm already very impressed by Stockholm. This is my first time here in Stockholm. Beautiful city. So I think we have to. The bar is so high now with your event here that we need to, have to be really, we have to place a really amazing effort to do something that equals your event here. So thank you all for being here today. The Ministry of Science and Technology Innovation Brazil is your partner, is your counterpart in Brazil. Please find us like not only as your partner, but as your friend. Thank you so much, and let's have a very fruitful event here, sharing our knowledge and reflecting about the future of our collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. And Osório also did what I should have done from the beginning, thanking the Brazilian embassy for allowing us to be part of the very essential week here at Convendum. Thank you very much. Then we carry on. So I ask.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm back. So now I have the great pleasure of introducing our first keynote presenter. As we have Professor Amy Lutfi from Örebro University. She's a professor of computer science, and she's also the vice rector for AI and innovation at Örebro University. And she's also the co-director of WASP, the Wallenberg AI Autonomous Systems and Softwares Program, which is Sweden's largest research program, where we have a budget of about 6 billion Swedish kroners, and where we're going to educate at least 600 PhDs in the areas of AI, autonomous systems, and software. And she will be talking about AI, robots, and semantics. Amy, please, the stage is yours.
Okay, I'll take it. Yeah. Great. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, Frederick. I can take the pointer as well. So let's hope we don't get any feedback. Let's see from this one. So thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for having me here today. And as Frederick mentioned, so I have several roles, but I have the heart of a researcher. And when I was asked to give a keynote, I thought I would give a keynote that maybe will tickle your fantasy a little bit in terms of AI, robotics, but also what we can do in terms of pushing the boundaries of really developing intelligent systems. And I'm also happy to say that if you're more curious about the other roles that I have, particularly regarding WASP, which is a very large research initiative and research program on AI autonomous systems, more of that will come in a talk a bit later with Jesper, who will tell you a little bit more about how the program looks. Now, I know that there are some guests that are online and maybe have never been to Sweden. So I thought I'd start with a map just showing where I'm located, which is about at the midpoint between the two large cities of Stockholm and Gothenburg. And that's where I sit, and that's where I have my lab, where I have also my friends, which are the robots next to me. I actually came to Sweden from Canada, where I was born and raised, as an exchange student. And it is a little bit of a testimony towards the nice exchange culture that exists in Sweden. And the nice environment there. And just quickly about the university, if you've not heard of Örebro University, it's one of the younger universities, one of the top-ranked younger universities in the country. And it's a broad university, so it has all the different disciplines, both the technical disciplines as well as the humanities and arts, as well as medical schools, which I think is a good environment to do research on AI and robotics, because as many of you know, even though we sort of drive technology forward, the field of AI really needs a lot of inspiration from other domains, ranging from neuroscience to psychology. And at the center where I work, we do a lot of research on the intersection between AI and robotics. So how do we make robots smarter? And we focus quite a bit on their perceptual and cognitive abilities, and you'll see a little bit more about that in my talk. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the research that's done in one of the subgroups, and that subgroup is called the Machine Perception and Interaction Lab, where we look at how what we perceive and how we interact with the world, how are those two processes or faculties, how are they connected to each other, and how do they drive our intelligence or the intelligence of machines? So there are a number of different research directions there, dealing with things like representation learning, semantic perception, and weaving and interweaving it with human systems interaction, which I think are all themes that are very relevant for the aeronautics setting. And let me just talk a little bit about semantic perception. And what do we mean by semantics? Well, we can see today that AI has made a lot of very impressive advancements. For example, in digital image processing, we can easily feed in an image and we get a lot of labels for what is actually recognized in that image. This is a problem that actually, when I started my PhD, we thought this is not going to be solved. And actually, object recognition, we're very close to having very robust solutions for object recognition. Now, because we can get a label for things doesn't necessarily entail that there's a semantic understanding. Semantics is deeper than that. Semantics requires that we understand the meaning of these labels. We understand the meaning, for example, of words. And that meaning is often grounded in something more than just other words, right? That meaning is grounded often in something that we perceive and sense in the real world. So if I, for example, would read a chapter out of J.K. Rowling and would tell you about a concept that you've never actually perceived yourself, but you can anyway conceive of the concept, like the one here, a creature with the front half of an eagle and a hind half of a horse. Because you understand what the meaning of those words are, you can actually create new concepts in your mind. You can almost visualize it, right? If I say a purple zebra, you can almost visualize what it means. And this is very important that when we're developing robots, when we're developing intelligent agents, that like us, they also have a semantic perception of the world around them. And it's important that those semantics are shared with us humans. We want those systems to have shared semantics so we can also interact with them. And the reason why this is important is because we often want these agents or these robots to be able to act and interact in the physical world. And it means that they need to be able to have a rich understanding of the world around them. So it's not enough that my robot can look at a carrot and identify this as a carrot. We want the robot to also understand what I can do with the carrot and understand that if I cut the carrot, it will still function as a carrot. But if, for example, I have a cup and I would shatter the cup, it would no longer function as a container. Now, this is something that we as humans, we often learn about, right? This is not something ingrained in us. This is a process of learning by interacting with the world. And you can actually even see the moments when we learn different concepts about objects, like permanence. Permanence is a concept that we learn as very young children. Around, 6 to 8 months, we're starting to figure out permanence. So that's why when you play peekaboo with a baby, it's really exciting for the baby because you really do disappear for that moment, right? And it's not only until a certain amount of time has gone by are our minds able to contend with the fact that just because you do not see something doesn't mean it no longer exists. So what we would like to do in our research is we would like to endow machines with this ability to have a deeper understanding of the objects around them. And then the question is, how do we do that? But also, why do we do that? And one of the reasons why we look at semantic perception for robots and autonomous systems is because we want to be able to interact with them in a much better way than we do today. We would like to be able to instruct a robot and say, we want you to pick up all the toys. We would like to instruct an autonomous system to say, well, go over here and complete this particular task or this particular mission. And it should be able to manage with what is considered a relatively high-level instruction and break it down into something that is meaningful and connected to the real world. So why is this hard? Well, there are a couple of reasons why it's hard. I talked about how certain things we learn as we interact with the world, and there are certain scenarios. For example, if you look at this simple scenario that you would think, okay, well, this should be relatively simple. If you would ask your robot system, where is the ball? You would ideally want it to answer, it's in the box. That's what we all understand. But what is required to be able to answer these kinds of queries? Well, we can make the scenario a bit more complicated. Instead of looking at ball in the box, we can look at what we call here the shell game. I think many of us know what the shell game is. It's like a sort of a street performer's trick where you put a coin under a cup. The cups are identical. You move around the cups and then you try and guess under which cup is the coin. Now, what is it that you actually have to do to solve this task? Well, you have to do a couple of things. First of all, you have to solve the problem of permanence. You have to realize objects, just because they're out of sight, don't disappear. They're still there. You have to keep track of the different cups. Even though they are visually identical, they are different instances of objects. And you also have to realize that when the cup moves, the coin moves with it. So it takes quite a bit of reasoning. And what we've been looking at is whether or not we can get our robots to solve exactly these problems. Can we get robots to solve, for example, the shell game? And the way that we solve it, and I'm not going to go into the technical details here, is we solve it by using a combination of learning, but also of reasoning. So can we reason about the world around us by manipulating these high-level symbols that tell us a little bit about the world? So here we have a scenario where we're basically playing the shell game. And what the system learns to do eventually is it learns that when one object occludes another, and that object moves, the occluded object also moves with it. And it's something the system is able to learn through interaction. Now, this is an example of what us within the field of robotics and cognitive robotics call tabletop experiments. And the tabletop experiments are really fun, but we often like to also do things that scale up. And so the questions we asked ourselves was, could we use some of these same mechanisms of learning and reasoning, but in this time, instead of looking at the table in the lab, let's scale up. And so together with Saab, and at that time it was also a company called Vricon, we looked at whether or not we could use these mechanisms not to look at individual objects on the tabletop, but really look at many, many objects, in this case, kind of an urban setting, where we're basically dealing with hundreds and thousands of objects. And just to go through it quickly, what we've done is, using satellite images, so this is actually Boden, which is up in the north of Sweden. We basically use image recognition techniques in order to identify every single object. And then we go up where we have common sources and we pull down information about that object. So at this particular location, this particular building, we know it is used, for example, as a school. And we know its exact address. This is not too difficult to do, as long as you get good classification results from your algorithms, and that are identifying sort of basic classes like buildings, roads, vegetation, water, and so on. So what we've basically done is we've created a database with hundreds of thousands of objects, and every object is augmented with some information about what it is. Then we augment this information even further with the help of anthologies. And basically, these anthologies allow us to ask questions such as, where are the shelters? So you can imagine you have an incident, you quickly gather some satellite images, you get some information on which buildings are there, and because you understand that a building is also a school, and a school can be used as a shelter, you can answer these types of queries. And this facilitates a very nice interaction, so that in very sort of acute situations, you can ask these kind of queries, where are the shelters, or find all the regions that are close to schools, and so on. And you can do this on the actual information that you're getting from your satellite images, but you can also play around with this information, and this is something that we've done where you add augmented information. So here we've actually flooded parts of Stockholm, and then we do the same query and we see how the system reacts and adapts. Now, what's interesting is that we realize that not only do humans want to do these queries, but robots would like to do these queries. So imagine you have a drone and you would like to ask a query like, could I fly from point A to point B in this particular scenario, but I want to add a constraint. You can't fly over water because we don't know what will happen with this drone. Now, we have a semantic representation of Stockholm. We have a semantic representation of a town. And that semantic representation allows us to not only know what objects are and what kind of classes objects are, but it also, if you remember the beginning of my talk, allows us to know what we can do with objects. So our system is able to reason that if I want to fly from point A to B and avoid water, I can reason about what kind of objects will help me. And actually what we'll find is that system is able to reason that bridges are very important in this context. And this is interesting not only from the point of view of facilitating the high-level interaction, but it's interesting from the algorithmic point of view. That is to say that if you imagine you have an algorithm that tries to find a path in 3D space, that takes a long time. But if you know that there are parts of that 3D space that there's no point looking because there aren't any bridges there, what you can do is you can start to prune your search space, and you end up getting the algorithm to converge faster on a path. So my point here is that semantics are not only good for interaction, but semantics are also very good to improve how algorithms work. So what we're able to show is that this algorithm is able to find and satisfy the request, fly from point A to point B, avoiding water. It finds a path using the bridges because it reasons about the function of bridges. And it's able to actually find that path in a faster amount of time. And that's because it's using the semantics of the world around it. Okay, so that gives you kind of a view of how we're combining high-level knowledge, which is in the form of ontologies, with this kind of low-level perceptual data in order to answer queries from humans who may wonder about what can I do with these objects, but also answer queries that may come from intelligent agents like this recreational drone that I showed on this image to be able to find paths. And just out of interest of time, I'm going to just round up. And hopefully I've been able to convince you through this talk that as we move kind of into a generation where we have AI solutions, where there's large language models, where we can, for example, use things like stability diffusion in order to combine concepts, that being able to ground all of this information in the real world, in perceptual data, will actually be a very powerful tool to drive the sort of learning of these intelligent machines, but also to create a very good interaction between people, humans, and these kinds of systems. And also something that we're looking at from our perspective is whether or not we can leverage upon this semantic understanding also to make these algorithms work even better. So the kind of the horizon for AI and these types of algorithms is very, very promising. And with that, I'd like to thank you, and also like I'm a megaphone for a lot of people who are behind this research. And yeah, thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. So, thank you very much. We might have time for one question if someone has a good question. No one. Oh, well, you can have
any question.
Yeah, she can take any question.
Yeah.
Okay, but then maybe I can ask. I mean, you talked about, for example, these large language models and so on. Would you see that the next step would be to integrate these kind of technologies into the large language models, or you think these kind of more deep learning based approaches would eventually reach the level of being able to do these things?
Yeah, no, sorry. So I think the next step really is to do that integration. We're looking at that now. So being able to ask questions about the objects around. So we're working on some experiments where you're perceiving in a particular scenario a knife and an apple, and then you ask the large language model, I have these two objects, what can I do with them? And based on that, you're actually getting a lot of common sense knowledge. If you want to consider what's on the internet common sense, you're getting a lot of common sense knowledge for free. And that's going, I think, to accelerate your ability to reason about what you're perceiving in the real world. So there's a lot of opportunities that these large language models are providing. But the key is to ground it in what you perceive.
Excellent. Thank you. So thank you very much, Amy, for that. So next we have Billy Josefsson from the Swedish Air Traffic Management, what do you call it? Luftfartsverket. I couldn't find, actually went to your webpage. There wasn't an English translation of Luftfartsverket.
It's the air navigation service provider.
Okay. Now you know what it is.
The Luftfartsverket is a legal term, which is a bit boring. So LFV is our company name.
Using the abbreviation as your company name.
Right.
Thank you. Now we learned something new. Thank you very much for that. And you're the program manager for automation, urban air mobility, and human performance, I think it said on your LinkedIn page as well. And you will talk about AI and autonomy and the joy for air traffic management. Please, go ahead.
So thank you for inviting me here. And I'm here to share a few things from the situation of an air navigation service provider who take care of the airspace, the safety, and how the airspace is used. I also like to share a few challenges, and I also hope for possible some feedback on that, or maybe collaboration in the future. The LFV, we are about 1,000 people, and we are a bit unique, not because of the size, but because that we have a research and innovation and digitalization unit. And that's not so common for a small NSP as LFV. So we are about 30 people, and we collaborate a lot with universities and institutes. We also have own high competences within safety and optimization and so on. So it's really nice to be here. And maybe you've seen some of the innovations, I'll come back to them, data link and remote towers and interface design and so on. And the package of joy, I would say we really need that because the pandemic was really hard on us because the air traffic wasn't there. And also the European economic pressures on an ANSP is really hard. You have to do savings every year. Okay, we put in some automation maybe. We could save some people because the people is really costly. And the people, I come back to that, it's difficult to find people today also. That's another challenge. Why is it so? And the environment, which been brought up also, we have to really look after the environmental. So a lot of challenges, and we need this package of joy, not only for the bad weather we have up here. I hope that will improve. So here we go. Maybe you saw the summit, the AI summit just a week ago, or basically. And when I read that, oh, this relates to me. Maybe we should adhere to what these brains are thinking and their thoughts about the future, because the ATM, the Air Navigation Service Provision, it's been a kind of mystic thing. It needs to be demystified. So that's why I just reflected on these 5 key takeaways. Someone said it, not me. But it gave me some thought about how it could impact on the air traffic management situation. And it relates to AI, as you see. So risk and the safety assessment, that is really at the heart of our business. And it's also, you see, the tackle the AI risks. Okay, we must have that under kind of control. Regulations, we struggle with that daily. And here also, there must be some regulations, and the nature of that regulation might change, not as today, because then we will have really difficult times. And we should be cautious, yes, but we also like to benefit from the capabilities we have in this new technology. So the society benefits, and a lot of protection or caring for the society, we believe, will be into the cybersecurity area to ensure the quality, to ensure that the information, you can trust the information and so on. Okay, there could be dangers also, many say that, but we can't stop this, we have to play with it. So disinformation and so on, and quality of the information, that is a key for our business as an air navigation service. We like to improve the quality. We like to improve the precision in the data and the services. And in order to do that, we cannot finance that or cannot find out that ourselves. And we need to find it out together with the airspace users, together with the industry, together with the academic and so on. So we have to collaborate. And of course we have to go much further within a harmonization of what we are doing. Otherwise, we may come up with totally unique systems, and that will not fly. So back a little bit to the air traffic management where I come from. Yes, to the left, you see how it was 50s, 60s, and so on, and the towers and so on. A lot of manual work, a lot of people. I spent 12 years in this really nice environment. It was a bit fancy. It was the first in the world civil-military integrated terminal control or smaller en route center in Östergötland. We served military airport and civil airport. It was totally integrated. A lot of fun, a lot of action, I would say. And you can see the interface, very basic and scattered interface. And for the controllers, it's very much about the interface. It's more or less all about the interface. They don't care so much what is behind the interface. And the development continue, as you see. And this was more or less considered as a normal or standard air traffic controller position. And the development for the towers has been quite dramatic. Already here it's quite well sorted out compared to the previous picture where you saw a microphone. This is a microphone. I talk to the aircraft. And these kind of interfaces becomes really slick and really interesting. So can we use new technology, AI and so on, to improve things, also be more cost efficient and be more precise and keep the quality? Of course, yes, we can. On the top, you see the so-called remote towers, the digital tower. You can manage airports on distance, and everything basically is digitalized. And that means that we can process and use that data to take care, and we can learn from that data. We record everything. So there is a lot of research opportunities here. One controller for one airport, it may sound fair, but many of these airports, so little activity, maybe 4 or 5 or 10 aircraft a day. So it's not so good for a controller to sit there and just look. Okay, then we can take on 2 airports, like in these pictures. Wow, could be dangerous. Could I have attention? Maybe I need some help. Okay. So we construct interface and some algorithm to manage the monitoring of a secondary airport or the 3rd airport or the 4th airport. And we evaluated that with controllers, and some of them are here today. So it works actually. So then we come back to other factors like trust and to demonstrate that this is safe for the regulator. And that, I would say, already is one of the clues I like to bring on, how to do the risk and safety assessment of this new technology. We really need to cooperate there. Here you can see an interface. It's a previous radar interface. You saw that boring. It could be designed like this. And what is that? Much easier. You have a couple of hours training. Then you can manage this interface and manage the air traffic. It looks weird if you are used to a radar scenario, but from a performance point of view, it's magic. And from a training point of view, it doesn't take a year or something to train. It takes a couple of hours. Yes, we have the interface here. Oh, now I get into talk mode. Mats, you have the time? Okay. Yes. So, okay, so what can we say? There's been a lot of development the last 70 years. I show you some points, but also I would say the last 5 years, there's been a lot of, I see, Amy, you agree to that. So how do we take care of that? Okay, so this is our overall ATM strategy for LFE, and maybe also other ANSPs buy into this. We wrote we did this picture 2018. It's been like a kind of guiding star for us. The air traffic management, the urban traffic management, the new technology associated with that will help us. We have to absorb that into our operations. We learn from that new technology. We need to harmonize. We need to share things in a more flexible way. The virtual centers, we need to understand how that works. We also need to demonstrate it's safe and it works. And the role of the air traffic controller will also change. It's evolving. Service-based companies, they are already here. 2018, we thought that would be more economy, I think, in this business. Investors has not shown up yet, but maybe with new technology and scalability, investors will come. And then we don't know about what that will mean, really. Okay, so that's our map, and I just need to remind you that these new entrants, the drone technology, autonomy drones or other drones, high drones and low drones, and space traffic is actually here. And we need to organize ourselves to manage them and to integrate them with the other air traffic. And then the start is, of course, to digitalize as much as possible to make it part of one unit, because we need to understand how to do the overall risk and safety in a dynamic way with all these actors in the airspace. So a lot of work to do together. And yes, why don't we do that? We, at least at LFE, we are lagging behind within the cybersecurity thing. It's really difficult. It's difficult not only to find people, but it's difficult to design the system in this rapid development we have today. So that should definitely be an area of collaboration if we could, of course, we're not disclosing secret things to each other, but I would welcome an area of collaboration called cybersecurity. Yes, here we go. So what do we have in terms of AI supported by machine learning in the pipe now? We have the digital assistants. I showed a snapshot from that before. It can be designed to manage 2, 3, 4 airports at the same time, and you can do it in a flexible way. It's also interesting to understand how the operator is feeling when he's working, what his capability, where is his attention? Has he looked at something? Has he not looked at something? Should he be reminded, and so on? So we can have an objective assessment of the performance. It can be used for verification of competence or training scenarios. Maybe you don't need an instructor that much because you had a perfect instructor here to give feedback to the student. Virtual reality and extended reality and mixed reality has a lot of things to do. We have it for familiarization, training, and information management, or it could be used for operational service. We don't do it. Do it in other applications in society today, but already with 4K resolution, it's really good, and you are in this world. You step into this world, and you are in this digital world. And if you bring on 8K, you're lost. You like to have it tomorrow. This is super interesting. Speech to your computers, speaks to your colleagues, and so on. So I like to dwell a little bit on that. Something happening here? Okay, maybe no one heard anything except me. I heard it 1,000 times, no, 100 maybe. It's a lovely scenario. Those who like it can come and look to it. Sorry, the sound didn't work. Anyway, what is we trained an AI piece of software with an aviation biased data set. So which means that it listens to what's going on. This is on the frequency, okay? So a request from this aircraft about, is there any other traffic in my area? Wow, yes, you have one at 2 o'clock, distance 8 miles, going south west. Okay, and then they ask for a QNH, frequency, and so on. And amazing. So we're going to work this further. And why? Why? Yes, because there is actually a really nice case, and it's a bit boring to sit there and inform. And we have about 25, 27 full-time equipment doing this work every year. Maybe we can replace 50% of that with this kind of software, if we can demonstrate it's safe and we understand the risks into this. So safety, again, it's a key of ourselves, and just sitting and looking out from a tower, sometimes you miss something, but maybe you don't miss if you got a reminder. As you saw, there was a little reminder to the down rightmost corner from the system, because the system noticed that the operator, he hadn't looked at that corner, he just looked at the aircraft. So you can have a kind of soft cue reminder, or here comes something also, it should not be there. So you can put your attention there. Something happens with the fonts here. Okay, so I just like to share these challenges, which are very small. This is not good. This is not good. This is my key point. Okay, again, I say it again. The challenges we have, find the competences, and we have a competition situation. We should not compete, we should collaborate. Okay, access the data, we are getting better and better on that. We get hold of the data, and more data is shared between the actors. The dialogue with regulators, it's good and it's getting much better. They get more involved, interested. They have to learn and we have to learn. We have to impact on the regulation. The interfaces, we saw that, there could be... This is really interesting, what's here and what's about. If you check with management, they're like, we go for full automation, then we need very few people. Difficult. You should go for a stepwise, take a smaller step with automation. Maybe you have to go to kind of rule-based. This is not good. Rule-based automation is that you go in before you go to a non-rule-based automation, which you will have a lot of difficulties to demonstrate that it is safe. So that's a little bit my key, which cannot really be seen here. We have to work together, and the rule-based AI support for things like training, familiarization, evaluation, non-operational things. That is what we have to focus on now, quickly, and learn from that, and to take it towards the operations. At the same time, we're learning about how to do the risk and safety assessment for this very interesting environment. So, so we can start the certification process. Yes, what is this? This is the future, and this is the people we have, actually. There's not many other to choose between, and we have to get them in as pilot. You have to get them into the Air Force. We have to get them into the LFV. You have to get them to university because you need researchers and so on, and you get them into the administration. And it seems to be a kind of competition about these brains. So gradually, I think we have to add some digital support to this in order to manage the situation. Yeah, whether I'm there, that remains to be seen. But that's all I had to say. So thank you for the attention. Sorry about the key challenges disappeared. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. So thank you very much for that, Billy. So, I mean, I would take the opportunity to ask you one question while Jesper is preparing here. And I'm very curious because it seems to be this kind of different forces. So in some sense, we have the new methods being developed in a rapid pace. And I mean, they coming with new capabilities. At the same time, you had this need for example, regulation to do the safety assessments, and which, as you say, is a challenge because there are no established methodologies for doing that. And then in some sense, we have the third part, namely this, more the cybersecurity and making sure that these systems are not only safe but also secure. So it seems to be these are pulling in different directions. Could you maybe address, I mean, how are you thinking about these different trends or forces? Is it like, safety is the number one. So, I mean, if we cannot prove with extreme certainty that it's safe, it doesn't matter how good it is. That could be a reasonable approach, but is there a way to gradually introduce new methods in parts where maybe the safety needs are slightly lower? Could you? Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. Wow, it's a lot of paradoxes here, and you exactly grab the situation. So for our business and for many other business, it's about to adopt the background automation and really understand the data and work with the data to understand where is the variations, the non-wanted variations in particular. We have to model. We cannot jump to this operational thing. That's too big. That's why I said we have to use it for training, simulation, expose it, and collect the data. We can do it quickly, but we have to be serious on that. Say to maybe cut the training in 50% of the time, and so on, by using this new technology, but adopt the background automation. And we have to collaborate in the risk and safety, because that is similar requirements all over the world. Understand the risk in this non-deterministic system, how that behaves. So there are a lot of research, but someone has to pile it together and start a program on this, Frederick. So I think that's important for the business. And then, of course, you have the whole dialogue with the users. Normally, the airspace users, they don't object. Maybe it's the air traffic controller who are really concerns about this. But if you involve them and demonstrate these things to them, normally they accept the new technology and the new organization. It takes some time, but you have to do that.
Thank you very much. So then we have the third and final speaker in this session. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Jesper Tordenvid from Saab Combitech, who is also he's the director of the VARA PS, the VARA Public Safety, and he's also my neighbor. So Jesper, please go ahead.
Thank you, Fredrik. Nice to see you here. Awesome. So great to have some minutes to tell you about what we are doing in the VARA public safety arena, and I want to show this to you because we want to start a discussion and give you inspiration. How can we use this in the Brazilian-Swedish program? And we have already started, as you will see. It's exciting to be just after two great keynotes and before the Swedish Fika. But I have loaded I have films, I have fresh images from what we have done quite recently. Let's see. So first, Fredrik and Amy talked about the WASP program. We have 4 research arenas in the WASP program, and the arenas are there to bridge the gap between the industry and the academy. So we should, from the industry, we should bring more relevant questions to the academy, and we want to make a way to take the results to be products and be faster to the market. And it's in the benefit of Swedish society and industry, the whole VASP program. And what's good for Sweden is to collaborate with other nations. So I'm happy to tell you that I'm really, really glad to do this in the Brazilian-Swedish collaboration. So I like to show you real pictures, real things from what we are doing in this research arena. So the theme, public safety, is a very good topic because from Saab, it's very close to defense. And if you are in the public safety, it's a very relevant topic and it addresses questions that are important to people. So it's easy to find relevant research questions, relevant solutions that benefits for the human. So, and we have chosen to say that autonomy, we know it's a multi-domain topic. We can learn both from academia and industry, but we can also learn a lot between the different domains. People working with underwater and people working with space and air. It's about the same problems showing up when things don't go exactly as you interpret it to be. So our main research question there is the collaborating systems for public safety that support teams of humans and systems acting and interacting in distributed contexts, supporting human authority and benefiting from functions with various degree of autonomy. So here, humans, very important. Really, could be trained pilots, but can also be users that have no skills at all. So it's very important that the systems works together there. This arena, we have 4 arenas in VASP. 2 of the arenas are scenario-based arenas. Robotics is activities in factory, and public safety is field robotics and autonomous systems outdoor, more or less, but can also be indoors. And the scenarios we have chosen to start with there was search and rescue, because it contains almost everything. You need to detect things, you need to classify it, you need to take some actions. And it's very close also to surveillance. You need to do something before to know the environment. And when you're there, things are not exactly as you have planned for, you need to replan. And it's not far away also from traffic management, like Billy explained to us, and airspace is very important to have. And if you're doing search and rescue, you often need to transport between areas where you have traffic management. And it's not far away to forest protection, wildfires also. So I will show you a film that shows our resources and a little bit what we're working. And I will try to comment it. It goes quite fast, 3.5 minutes, then I will go more into details of the different parts of it. So this is available on the net.